everybody, and welcome back to Court of Words and Pages. My name is Natalie. So, today we have my May TBR, which is a big one, but it's just kind of see what I get to, unlike last month where I was actually trying to read all the books I put on that TBR. This one I'm just going to be kind of picking and choosing off of this list, and then I have some physical books here, just kind of deciding what I want to read. So, this May TBR, however, will be mostly a romance theme one, because I'm just really in the mood to read romance. It hit me in the middle of April. Hey, I want to read romance right now. I think it's because it's getting warm outside, things are blooming. That just puts me right in the romance mood. So besides a few fantasy books, this TBR will mainly be focused on romance. So I figured, let's get the fantasy out of the way first. I have 4 kind of books to talk about. And the first one is the one that I actually want to read as my classic for the month, and that is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. So I've never read The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings, and so I figured, well, maybe it's not as much of a classic as long ago as it was written as some other books. This is considered a classic in the genre it is written in, and it's considered a classic fantasy. So I figured, what better way to start my Lord of the Rings journey than with The Hobbit? So I will read you the back of this one because I don't know what it is about. Bilbo Baggins is a hobbit who enjoys a comfortable, unambitious life, rarely traveling any farther than his pantry or cellar, but whose contentment is disturbed when the wizard Gandalf and a company of dwarves arrive on his doorstep one day to whisk him away on an adventure. They have launched a plot to raid the treasure hoard guarded by Smaug the Magnificent, a large and very dangerous dragon. Bilbo reluctantly joins their quest, unaware that on his journey to the Lonely Mountain he will encounter both a magic ring and a frightening creature known as Gollum. So I believe this is kind of the prequel to Lord of the Rings, setting up what's going to happen in that trilogy, so very exciting to be reading this one. The next one is a reread of a favorite series of mine, probably my favorite series of all time, and that is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I'm currently working on the process of rereading this series, and so in May I will be reading Throne of Glass, and in Throne of Glass we follow Selena Sardothian, who is the world's most feared assassin, and she has to compete in a competition to win her freedom. The Crown Prince of the Kingdom has asked her to compete in this competition as his champion, and she will have to kill these other people to be named the King's champion and served as his assassin. And of course, there's a greater evil she will have to defeat as her competition mysteriously starts dying off. So that is Throne of Glass. I absolutely love the series. Don't love Throne of Glass and China's Midnight as much as I love the rest of the books in the series, but I'm excited to be back in this world and to be able to pick up on some of the foreshadowing. I've definitely been noticing that in my reread of The Assassin's Blade, and I'm excited to continue into Throne of Glass. Next is one that I just recently got from the library today, and that is Malice, which is by Heather Walter. I believe this is a queer Sleeping Beauty retelling, and we're following, what is her name? Elise, who is, in this world, there's like these fates, maybe? And some of the fairies have graces, and we're following Elise, who has a dark grace, so she is kind of shunned by the kingdom. And then she meets Aurora, who is the last line of princesses that were once cursed to die off by a dark grace. And they fall in love, but she wants to save Aurora, so I'm very excited by this. I've heard some amazing things about it. And so the final fantasy book that I want to read this month is one that I think is frankly going to break me, and that is The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. Oh, I'm excited to read it, but I'm also not, because I think it's going to be heart-wrenching, so who even knows? So The Dragon Republic is the sequel to The Poppy War. In The Poppy War, we follow Rin, who is a war orphan living in the south of her country, being raised by her adopted parents. And one day she finds that she is going to be entered into an arranged marriage. However, she really does not want this. And so she has to decide she will train for this test to get into the military academies in her country. And not only does she pass this test, which no one thought she could do, she scores high enough that she gets to go to the best, most elite military academy in the capital of the empire. However, once she's there, she finds things aren't all that different from her hometown. She's still ostracized for being poor, for being darker skinned from the others, and she has a really hard time there. However, while she's at the academy, she also starts to discover the power of calling down the gods and the mysterious power that exists in this world, and she finds that she has the ability to call down a god. And then war starts again as the Empire's greatest enemy threat invades again, and Rain and her classmates have to fight in the war, and it is nothing like they have ever trained for. So the end of the Poppy War kind of broke me, and I'm really scared about the Dragon Republic. but I didn't get to read this in April, which I'm a bit disappointed about, but very excited to read this one in May. Probably be picking this one up fairly quickly. I guess technically I do have one more that I'll just quickly mention. Won't go into too much about what it's about, and that's The Hero of Ages. I was going to try to fit this in at the end of April, beginning of May, but then my copy had to be returned to the library, so I'll just fit this in whenever it comes, if I can get to it. Now, my folks, it is time for the romance portion of this video. I guess let's start with the books I physically own. First two I have are Check Please Book 1 Hockey and Check Please Book 2 Sticks and Stones. This is a reread for me. I absolutely love these graphic novels when I read them last year, and I felt like I wanted to reread them. So I'm not really quite sure what this is about. We follow Biddy, who's a former figure skating champion who becomes a hockey player, and it's just following him at university, college, when he plays on a hockey team, and I'm very excited to read this. I love the stories. A bit of a fantasy romance moment may be happening in A Promise of Fire by Amanda Boucher. I will read you the back of this one because I'm not quite sure exactly what it's about. I've just heard some good things. Kat Fisa lives disguised as a soothsayer in a traveling circus. She is perfectly content avoiding the danger and destiny the gods and her homicidal mother have saddled her with. That is until Griffin, an ambitious warlord from the magic-deprived South, fixes her with his steely gaze and upsets her illusion of safety forever. But not if she can help it. Griffin knows that Kat is the kingmaker, the woman who divines the truth through lies. He wants her as a powerful weapon for his newly conquered realm, until he realizes he wants her for much more than just her magic. Kat fights him at every turn, but Griffin's fairness, loyalty, and smoldering advances make him hard to resist, and leave her wondering if life really does have to be short and lived alone. So, I'm excited for this fantasy romance. It'll be great. I'm not quite sure if this next one is romance, but it just piqued my interest and sounds like it'd be a good May read, and that is The Loveliest Chocolate Shop in Paris, which is by Jenny Colgan. I actually do have another book by Jenny Colgan, the bookshop on the corner, but I want to read this one instead, so I will be doing that. And in this book we follow Anna Trent, who is the supervisor in a chocolate factory, but that doesn't necessarily mean she knows how to make chocolate. When a fateful accident gives her the opportunity to work at Paris's elite chocolatier, Le Chapeau Chocolat, Anna expects to be outed as a fraud. After all, there is a world of difference between chalky mass-produced English chocolate and the gourmet perfections Anna's new boss creates. But with a bit of luck and a lot of patience, Anna might learn that the sweetest things in life are always worth working for. So, I don't think this one's a romance. I just think it's going to be a nice book set in Paris and chocolate. Who doesn't love chocolate? And I also have, never heard anyone mention this book, so yay. And then the final one I physically have right now is Say Yes to the Marquess, which is by Tessa Dare. This is the second book in one of her series. I'm not quite sure which series it is. And to read you the back. After 8 years of waiting for Piers Brandon, the wandering Marquess of Granville, to set a wedding date, Cleo Wetmore has had enough. She's inherited a castle, scraped together some pride, and made plans to break her engagement. Not if Ralph Brandon can help it. A ruthless prize-fighting and notorious rake, Ralph is determined that Cleo will marry his brother even if he has to plan that dreaded wedding himself. So how does a hardened fighter cure a reluctant bride's cold feet? And it's just basically going to be him trying to get her to marry his brother, but, maybe falling in love along the way. So just to go over some ones that I have on my Libby app. First up is Fake It Till You Break It by Jen P. Nguyen. Mia and Jake, who have kind of known each other forever, their mothers are friends and convinced that the two of them will get together, but they can't stand each other. And then they decide to fake date and then stage a breakup, and then they won't have to deal with this. And then they don't hate each other as much as I thought, and they're going to fall in love. Once again, don't know anything about this one. It seems cute, so why not do it? Backtracking a bit to some historical romance is The Duke and I by Julia Quinn, which is actually what the Bridgerton TV show is based off of. I've never watched Bridgerton, but, that got me in the mood to read some historical romances. So, I don't know anything about this one, so I will read you the synopsis. In the ballrooms and drawing rooms of Regency London, rules abound. From their earliest days, children of aristocrats learn how to address an earl and curtsy before a prince, while other dictates of the ton are unspoken yet universally understood. A proper duke should be imperious and aloof. A young marriageable lady should be amiable, but not too amiable. Daphne Bridgerton has always failed at the latter. The fourth of 8 siblings in her close-knit family, she has formed friendships with the most eligible young in London. Everyone likes Daphne for her kindness and wit, but no one truly desires her. She is simply too deuced honest for that, too unwilling to play the romantic games that captivate gentlemen. Amiable is not a characteristic shared by Samet Bassett, Duke of Hastings. Recently returned to England from abroad, he intends to shun both marriage and society, just as his callous father shunned Simon throughout his painful childhood. Yet an encounter with his best friend's sister offers another option. If Daphne agrees to a fake courtship, Simon can deter the mamas who parade their daughters before him. Daphne, meanwhile, will see her prospects and her reputation soar. The plan works like charm at first, but amid the glittering, gossipy, cutthroat world of London's elite, there is only one certainty: love ignores every rule. So, why not? Sounds good. I was able to get a hold on it. And also, if I like it, it's the first book in like an 8-book series, so I'm set. And then finally, let's just run through some romances. I'm not going to be describing all of these about what they're about, just because I don't have a copy of them yet. I have requested them, and I will just kind of read them as they get to me. So we have You Deserve Each Other, which is by Sarah Hogel, which is a second chance romance between an engaged couple who no longer want to be engaged and are trying to break off their engagement, but they end up falling in love. Fix Her Up, which is the first book in a trilogy, and it has to do with this girl whose family works on a show where it's a fixer-upper show where they fix up houses. Don't know a whole lot about the romance in it, but I've heard some good things. Undercover Bromance, which is the second book in the romance book club, and this is basically following, I think it's a bunch of male athletes who have started a romance book club to kind of understand women more, and I don't exactly know what this one is going to focus on, but I really enjoyed the first one, so I'm excited for that. My Life with the Walter Boys is a YA romance that I have actually read before. Follow our main character after her parents die, and she has to go and live with her parents' best friends, who she really never knew, and they have seven, I think, sons, and she's, of course, going to get entangled into a love triangle. A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow, I think we follow our main character who gets shipped off to Paris in the summer, and she meets a boy who's going to show her around and help her along the way in some kind of way. The Right Swipe, which follows two people, I think, who both work on dating apps. They, met each other before and something went wrong in their relationship, but now they're going to get back together or something like that, or they're competing with each other. Not quite sure on this one. The Kiss Quotient, once again, don't know a whole lot about this one, but the main character has Asperger's, and I believe this is Own Voices rep, and this is the first book in another trilogy, which the second book is The Bride Test, and the third book comes out sometime this year, so that'll be exciting. Shipped, I'm not quite sure what this has to do, but I think this is two rival competitors who are both trying to get the same promotion at work, and they have to go on some company vacation or something like that. So those are all the ones I'm going to talk about today. I do have a few more that are coming to me, a few more that maybe I will pick up, but I figured that's kind of enough to talk about right now. And yeah, that's kind of it. I'm sorry if I didn't give great synopsis for some of the romance books near the end. There were just so many of them, and I can read romance books fairly quickly, so I figured I'll get through them, and I don't need to know a whole lot about my romance books before going in. So yeah, that is my May TBR. I feel like I'm taking a much different approach with this one, just kind of what I get to, I'll get to, and just kind of read what you want, and you don't have to read every book, and not pressuring myself to read every book that's on this TBR. So, yeah, that's gonna be it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Down below you'll find links to all the books I mentioned, hopefully, as well as my Bookstagram and my Goodreads if you want to follow me there. Subscribe to see more content from me very soon, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!